Welcome to another Q&A Friday where we answer all sorts of questions that are brought to us during the week, or the best of them that we can find. So this week our topics are cleaning bee poo and tree sap off solar panels, a little bit of information about onboard tanks for carrying water to work sites, understanding the cleaning techniques with water fed at extreme heights, that's like 5, 6, and 7, how the water temperature affects the performance of your RO coming into winter and out of winter into spring, and the art of jumping a water-fed brush over deep frames. But first, we need coffee.
Made it just for you.
Oh, thank you very much, Jen. That's great. Cheers. That is super hot. That's great. All right, so let's go. So, I can't remember who this was, but it was Brad Bolt, right, in Arizona. He said, I watched your video a while back about solar panels are blue and the solar panels that have a blue coating that can be easily damaged. I'm cleaning some residential panels tomorrow that are blue. I've done them twice before, and there's always a lot of bee poo and desert tree sap on them. It's very hard to get off. How do you recommend that I get it off? The customer seems to be more keen that there's no poo or sap on the panels than how much energy they produce. That's a bit of a comment because the ARC, or the anti-reflective coating, increases the performance of a panel by 4%. In the past, I've had most success with the cheese grater. Oh, we could pass the cheese grater. So Brad's been using this one here, the cheese grater. We call it the cheese grater, but in the store it's called stainless steel mesh. I would try green rubber. It can be very effective on bee poo, but I doubt it'll work on the sap. Okay, so we're going to talk about bee poo and tree sap on solar panels. So the first thing is bee poo, and we recommend the green rubber for the bee poo. That's, Martin is ready.
Yes. On
hand. So this scrub here is got a lot of grab to it. And if you look at the way it's woven, the bristles, if you want to call them bristles, are basically running parallel to the glass. So you get a lot of contact on the glass with the rocker, and the green grab function, right, kind of grabs the bee poo, and it also removes the residue, right? So sometimes you can, if you used, for example, if you use this one on bee poo, you'll see that there's still a stain on the glass from the waxy sort of finish. The other one from with even more grab is, well done Martin, is the silicon bristles, right? So you can have a look at those, and these bristles will, they've got a load of grab, right? So ARC, yeah, the softest bristle that we can make, that with the intention of protecting the ARC. Now the ARC I've done a lot of research on ARC lately, and the ARC is quite different on solar panels than on glasses. So if you Google ARC, you'll see some articles about the ARC used on glasses, which basically stops the reflection of the glass.
Anti-reflective coating.
Anti-reflective coating it is.
Yeah.
So
this is super good one.
The silicon one, because you were up on the roof today, weren't you?
Yeah, I was up cleaning, and also Peter Thomas in Australia, he's been trying it, and he was really satisfied. Really good result.
Great, yes. Great. Yeah. There we go. So the ARC on a solar panel is actually harder and more scratch resistant than the ARC on your glasses, right? That's step one. And it's applied in 1, 2, or 3 layers usually, depending on the quality of the panel, I'm guessing. And there are different materials that they make it out of, ranging anyway through all sorts of chemical compounds. But so it's not like the tin surface on e-glass, right? If you find a panel of e-glass and it's installed back to front and you put anything on it, it'll scratch up. The tin surface is quite soft. But the ARC is quite scratch resistant. There's a lot of tests being done on that. But you still have to be as careful as possible because we don't know whether it's 1, 2, or 3 coatings. And the principle is, as professionals, we don't want to damage solar panels. And if you create hot spots on solar panels, you damage the solar panel. So if you scratch off the ARC, you're going to get a hotter zone where you've scratched it off compared to where you haven't scratched it off. Then you get a hot wafer, and if you have a hot wafer, then the panel starts to break down.
So it's a great selling point as well, that
yes,
you can clean it and get everything off.
Yes, and protect the panel. So if you've got a competitor and you're going in competitive pricing or whatever, then you can show them that you're going to use a silicon bristles on their panel, and they can ask your competitors if they are going to use silicon or nylon bristles or something even more aggressive like that.
And this is also included in the solar rocker?
Yeah, so all solar rockers have silicon bristles, and we're bringing it in slowly to the other brushes. I know we thought we were going to do it much earlier, but we had some production issues about how to get it made properly. So I think that that's the most important thing, is that ARC is not easily scratched, but it's in different layers, so you don't know how much damage you could do. Secondly, if you have got ARC, you should use the softest bristle that you can. And if something doesn't come off with a soft bristle, then you spot clean that point, right, with the least amount of agitation as possible. Now remember, even if you put on cheese grater is not steel bristles this way. They're steel bristles this way, more like a blade. So they're basically scraping things off the surface rather than actually scratching things off the surface. So there's quite a difference between, the scrubs that we use are all aimed with all of the strands are parallel to the glass, so you're not getting sharp tips on the glass. The only tips that we put on the glass are, even the silicon ones, you don't use the tips. They fold over and they get coverage. You grab. It's a grabber. So the only tips that we use on glass are nylon bristle tips. Yep. Okay. Well, time for a coffee. That's topic number 1 done.
Getting cold there, huh? We need the hot coffee.
Hot coffee. Yeah. Great. All right. Oh, no, the sap. I didn't cover sap. So tree sap is really difficult to get off. So we did some research, me and Bradley, and it appears, and you need to do your research as well, but it appears that you can use isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, to soften sap, right? So some articles you'll see, they'll say that you can dissolve the ARC, the anti-reflective coating, on glasses with isopropyl alcohol. However, the only articles that talk about alcohol not being okay are in relation to glasses, and all the articles that we've read in relation to solar panels say that isopropyl alcohol is okay. Okay, so we've read several science reports on how to clean, and some of them even encourage the use of alcohol and water together. So, but do your research, Google it, confront it, and get your evidence together. All right, topic number 2, time for a coffee. This is from Mark Chabot, I think his name is, from Horizon Services, Reach-It user since 2015. He said, yeah, that's great, right? Are you in the process, or may you in the future get into the portable water filtration systems? I love Reach-It products, but especially with my commercial jobs, I don't always have easy access to water. So when there is no water hookup, I have to resort to the old squeegee and mop. I'm looking into some of the UK systems, which are sort of tank systems with hose reels and filters built into them, but really do like using your products. Do you have any plans for getting it into the market? If not, who do you know who's the most reliable in that market? Any help would be appreciated. I live in Newport, USA, and a lot of the buildings are older and do not have easy access to water source. Okay, so this is a conversation about tanks either on trailers or tanks in vehicles. And my personal opinion is that the agricultural industry has got this sorted, like really sorted. So you can go to tractorsupply.com or TTI, and these guys have got rotary molded plastic tanks that are just basically water carrying devices, and they're made of plastic, which is cheap, and they sell them at a very reasonable price. So when I was window cleaning in Sydney, I would go to sylvan.com.au, so S-I-L-V-A-N, I think, it might be S-Y-L, no, it's S-I-L, and they're the same as tractorsupply.com in North America and TTI. So, and I bought from we would call them quad bikes, you guys call them ag bikes or ATVs. So basically the chemical spray unit has got 25-gallon, 100-liter tanks with a pump on top of it, and that's a good buffer tank system. But if you wanted to carry more water, like a whole day's supply of water, then you could go out to 100 gallons, 200 gallons, or whatever. The bigger your tank is, just a little piece of advice is you should watch for the tare weight of your vehicle, T-A-R-E, right? Because even if you have a 1,000-liter tank or a 250-gallon tank, that's 1 ton, 1 metric ton.
That's moving, right?
That's a lot. You can get baffles. Some of them have got baffles in them to break it up, like milk trucks and fuel trucks and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
So they can baffle it if it's big. But still, the tare weight of your vehicle may be 1.5 tons. You've got 2 big guys, in the front seat. You've got a load of equipment, some pressure washing stuff, and some other tools. And if you exceed your tare weight, even with the capacity of the water tank, knowing that if you get into an accident, the likelihood is that your tank will be empty at the end of the accident. So the insurance company can look at it and say you exceeded your tare weight. Whether you did or not, you can't really prove. So therefore, because you've got the capacity to carry a ton of water, so it's really important to check your tare weight and check the fitted, what you're carrying in your vehicle, and make sure that you don't exceed. Or I wouldn't even get close to it, right? Because one day you'll throw something else in there, like some firewood or something, and that'll be your lucky day or unlucky day. Okay.
So, for safety, it's really important to check this.
Yeah.
Very important.
So if you want a buffer tank, where, for example, if we go to RO performance, which is going to be the next topic, you can maximize the performance of your reverse osmosis system by reducing the back pressure from your gravity, from the hose and tube, wall friction, the turbulent water caused by wall friction. So you can reduce the back pressure, and therefore the pressure differential is a membrane, and if you imagine it cut in half and there's pressure on one side and pure on the other, then the performance of the RO is determined by the pressure differential, not the pressure. So the more back pressure you have, the less production of pure water you'll get. So if you wanted to maximize your RODI, you can put the water into a buffer tank. The buffer tank has a pump on it, and that pump takes the responsibility for the tube and the head of gravity that you're pushing up against. And that way you will get the maximum performance out of your RO system, a little 25-gallon, 100-liter buffer tank in the middle. And that can also help you when we get to the spring issues of using ROs in spring as you come out of winter in the cold areas. It doesn't matter in the warm areas like Florida and California, there's no issue. Okay, so I would recommend that you size up and go and see an agricultural person. Hose reels, you can mount hose reels anywhere. They don't need to be mounted on the tank. The pure water system, we still recommend that you get an on-demand system with wheels, not that you ever want to take it out of your vehicle unless you can't get near water. But having an RODI system like FlowRed Plus in your vehicle, small footprint, and then putting the water into the tank, you don't need them built into the tank. It doesn't make any difference. And if they're built into the tank, you can't take it out of the vehicle, so then you must be operating, from the vehicle. So the beauty of having mobile, for example, is you can leave a guy on a site and go and use the water in the tank on another site if you've got a tank full of water. So I think it's more advantageous from a logistics point of view, time and motion point of view, flexibility point of view, scale point of view, to have a mobile RODI system with an independent tank, and the hose reels is no big deal wherever you want to mount them. You could probably mount them on top of the tank if you wanted to yourself, right? Just drill a hole underneath and put a bolt with a couple of washers in there, yeah? Okay, you don't need to be paying, just to give you an idea, like, a 100-liter, 25-gallon tank with a pump is like $250, $300. Yeah, it's not a lot of money compared to the thousands that you might be persuaded to spend, even up to $10,000 or 10,000 pounds, some of the systems are, right, for that. We could cover hot water too, because some of the hot systems that are $10,000 are using hot water, and I recognize some of the benefits of hot water is that you can, the surface tension of the water is less, so the water will run off the glass more, but I don't see any evidence that you can go any faster. Right, so the most important thing is the brush is going to do the job. The quality of the water is the same whether it comes out of a DI tank or an RO system, and there's no parts per billion that's going to make any difference in the whole world. So, you can think more pragmatically. You don't have to think inside the industry with custom built systems for that. And that's why we haven't gone into that market. Alrighty. How's that? I can have another cup of coffee, Martin.
Yeah.
Reach. Okay, so the next topic is how water temperature affects RO performance. So as we go into winter, you will notice that the ground temperature, the ambient temperature goes down first, then slowly the ground temperature goes down. And at some point, that means that the temperature of the water that's being fed to your reverse osmosis system will also be going down. Now, at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius, this kind of mark here is the maximum performance of an RO, this temperature. And the thing which you have to remember is that at 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit, then the performance of an RO will be half of the performance of it at the higher temperature. So, and it's linear, so it's a straight line between the two. So what that means is that as the ground gets colder, your source water will become colder. The viscosity or the thickness of the source water will become thicker, like more viscous, and then eventually it turns to ice.
Yeah. That's why it's like if you put water in a glass and put it outside, it will crack because it expands, right? No?
Yeah, not in a glass. It has to be in a sealed container. Yeah. If the glass is, it'll just go up. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this is the thing to notice is that the water will become like thicker, if you want to imagine it like that, more like a gel. It doesn't turn into a gel, but if you imagine that a gel is thicker than water, so we don't notice that it's getting thicker, but it's getting thicker, and then that when you're trying to push the water through these tiny little holes, that viscosity makes a difference, and it doesn't get any worse than at 4 degrees, right? So 4 degrees is or 39 degrees Fahrenheit, that's your critical mark of the worst performance of an RO. Now, a lot of the guys cleaning from fall through to winter, even though the ambient temperature of the air is dropping, the ground temperature is still relatively warm, so you don't notice it so much. However, at the other side of winter, when the ambient temperature is going up and you've got a lovely day, the ground is still potentially 6 feet deep as frozen. So you've still got very, very cold water going into your RO, and then you'll think, oh my God, my RO doesn't work as well as it did when I went into winter. So maybe there's something wrong with my RO. And we've seen over the years a lot of people replace their ROs on advice on the basis that they've failed over winter and stuff like that. And it's actually really, really unlikely that they've failed over winter. The most likely thing is that you're dealing with really cold water, and so the performance is half. So again, if you're coming out of winter and your RO is not producing the same flow rate that you were experiencing going into winter, then you would want to possibly look again into the tractorsupply.com or TTI or sylvan.com.au, like places, the agricultural suppliers of tanks, and buy a tank with a 12 volt pump. It can be 60 PSI through to 100 PSI, preferably 1.7 gallons per minute or 7 liters per minute, something like that. And then that little pump there will handle all of the back pressure while your RO is delivering, less, but the maximum that it can do. And then if you want to boost the pressure going in, then you would put a booster pump like a Wayne PC4 or a Liberty 331 or equivalent half horsepower pump used as a transfer pump mostly is the basic design. And you can put this pump in front of the RO and increase the pressure in front of the RO so you've got more pressure to create a bigger pressure differential across the RO. How did that go? Did I say that good, Martin? I think that was pretty very clear. Whew, good. Wow.
I understood it.
Great. Well, if you understood it.
The colder it is, the harder to pass through the RO.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's basically it.
Yeah. So you can use a booster pump, for example?
Yeah, you use a booster pump in front of the RO or a buffer tank and a delivery pump after the RO. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you know the temperature.
Yes.
You can control the temperature.
No, not the temperature. You can just offset the effect of the temperature. By increasing more pressure means you'll get more product. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even though it's thicker. You won't get the same product, you'll just get, or the same production rate, you'll just get more production because you've got more pressure differential across the membrane.
But it also affects the glass, right? The temperature, how you clean it? Maybe that's a different topic.
Yeah, it's a different topic, and I don't know there's a lot of evidence that the water temperature actually changes, because clean is clean, and we've got no problems, guys, cleaning windows. So anybody who says you can clean windows better than clean is maybe mythical.
Yeah.
That's
But
where.
you're still using zero TDS. It's not
Yeah,
in water anyway.
No, so your spot-free result is going to be spot-free anything under TDS 10. So TDS 0 is not critical. TDS below 0 in the parts per billion is definitely pointless. And so the most important thing is to choose the right brush and or the right scrub on a brush so that you can get the debris off the glass. If it's difficult to remove with bristles, then you need to get the debris off the glass. And so that's why your brush design and your rinse function, like agitate on the upstroke, rinse on the downstroke. That's your efficiency.
The scrubs, it's the radial rocker, it's the deep frame rocker,
Deep frame rocker.
glass, and our new solar rocker as well.
Yes. They're all rockers with good scrubs.
And always
All right.
square the glass.
Always square on the glass. I like it.
Let's get some cafe.
Okay, so the next topic. Peter Thomas has submitted a video for us to be able to drop into this Q&A, and it's the art of jumping a water-fed brush over deep frames.
I've done it.
You've done it, yeah, because we made a video some years ago, didn't we, together? So basically, as you'll see in Peter's video, if you've got a deep frame, your natural tendency is to counterlever the brush off the glass over the frame and back onto the frame. But that's quite a lot of load on your core. Now, if you're big and bulky and young, that might be fine. However, there's no use to use any more force or energy or calories than you need to. So there is a trick to it. And the trick to it is basically flexing the pole against the glass when that flex comes back. So you flex, and maybe you do it once or twice, or you wait until you've done it the right amount of time where you see the brush just lift off the glass. When the brush lifts off the glass, you just take it up and over the frame. It's weightless at that point, right? You're not pulling it off the glass. You're bouncing it off the glass. Once you see it lift, you just go boom like that, and it's effortless.
Still hot? Good stuff.
It's good.
Right.
All right, last topic is understanding cleaning techniques with water fed at extreme heights. So we get this sometimes where guys get a Warrior and they want to go out to 5, 6, and 7 stories. 5 stories is not such a big difference, but once you get to 6 and 7, then by the nature of gravity on the pole and depending how far away you are from the building, like if this is you and this is the brush, the further away from the building you have to be, the more gravity will pull on the pole, right? So the gravity pulls on the pole 100% when it's vertical, but you can't clean windows because you have no pressure in the Z direction. Can you see that? X, Y, and Z, right? So that Z is towards the glass. So we want pressure towards the glass in the Z plane. I don't know if it's a plane, but basically in the Z direction. And so the further we move away from the glass, the more the gravity pulls down. And as it pulls down, it applies a vector this way and that way in a percentage. So if the pole's at 45 degrees, half of the effective gravity is going this way, half of the effective gravity is going that way. So that's basically how the vectors work. So we don't want to go too far away from the building because the pole will have more pull on it. So basically its rigidity is compromised, the further away and the longer the pole gets. Remembering that the top of the pole is only 1 inch thick as an outside diameter and the bottom of the pole is 2 inches thick. So it's more likely to flex at the top. So if you go to 7 stories and you have to step back far enough, then you'll find that the pole will flex and then the number 1 section will be close to parallel to the glass. And so the technique, if you watch the pole flex, then the technique changes. The reason the technique changes is because there's flex in the pole. So if there's no flex in the pole, the standard technique, the radial technique works, everything is fine. As as the pole flexes, as you get higher, then you have this phenomenon that you are no longer working in a straight line. So you've pushed the brush up and the pole has flexed, and then the pole will straighten at the top of the push. And then on the way down, it's all gravity. You don't pull the brush down, you just allow the brush down, because gravity is going to bring the whole pole down in your arms. So when you get to the apex of that movement at the bottom of the window, the pole is relatively straight. You're going to push. The harder you push, the more force you apply, the more flex you'll put into the pole by the nature of you putting pressure this way and the pole wanting to flex with the force of gravity. So you're adding to the force of gravity. So, so the art of cleaning extreme heights is the more the pole is flexing, the slower the transition only at the bottom of the window. Just the slower the transition. So you just apply force slowly, and then you can accelerate the brush to the normal height, the normal speed, till it gets to the top of the window. And then you let gravity bring it down. But if you're cleaning 2 stories, you might go da, 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 and move to the next window. If you're doing extreme height, then you're going to push the brush up. On the way down, you're then going to kind of almost allow the brush come to the bottom and then push it back up, gently, and then accelerate it to the top of the window. Always remember you should, as much as possible, clean with full length strokes of the windows. It's much more efficient, Just like straight pull cleaning with a squeegee is more efficient time-wise than fanning, right? You take too much time to fan, as pretty as it is.
And also you should really know your brush, how it works perfectly until you start going really high, right? So
yeah, definitely. If somebody's new to this, then we always say, like, the first thing you do is take the number 1 section out of your Warrior or your Tactical or your Mini, and then practice the brush on nose to glass, where you can see how it goes across top edge, how the water drops away when you angle the brush, how it scrolls through the corners, how the water rinses the corner, how to angle it slightly on the way down the frame so all the flush water is taking any debris that you got out of the corners, and any debris that's on the glass is all coming off one side.
Use the radial technique.
The radial technique, that's what we call it. So and also you'll find that if your pole is flexing, it's much harder to scroll a brush through the corner. So that's why we have deep frame. Usually if you're going to extreme heights, then you're really just doing up-down cleaning, and the idea of attacking the corners is not very practical at those heights. There's no other brush can clean a corner as efficiently as a radial anyway, so you're not any worse off than any other brush, but we don't focus on the cleaning of corners on commercial buildings. Usually it's the contrast effect that the property manager wants, which is people aren't going to be looking into the corners on a 6-story office block window to see if the corners are perfectly clean,
So it would be deep frame rocker.
Deep frame rocker is the one.
So understanding the scraps, how they what debris they remove.
Yes.
So
yes.
Because if you don't see the window, it's hard to know if it's perfectly
Yes.
clean.
Yes. And what we find is that I don't even know how high BPOO would be. Somebody might know how high they've found BPOO on windows, but I'm guessing it's not at 6 stories, right? Just for whatever reason, I don't know.
Icarus,
but you don't. The Icarus, classic. Yeah. So I don't know. We don't hear about anybody having problems getting debris off glass at extreme heights. It's usually just the nature's, dirt and stuff like that, unless it's a construction clean or something like that. So that's the technique. Now, after you've cleaned, let's say it's 6 stories, you're going to take some of the pole off the bottom of the pole. So you might take sections 7 and 6 off a Warrior and put them on the ground, and then you're going to clean the 5th floor. You've got less weight in the pole. You're cleaning at a lower height. So what happens is the pole, whatever flex was in the pole at 6 stories becomes less and quite possibly minimalized. And then at 4 stories and below, obviously Warrior, is completely rigid, and you're back into, being able to clean corners and use the pole as an axle, right? But at above 4 stories, mostly you're going to be using it as a drive shaft only, right? You're just going to be pushing it up and down, or a piston kind of action. So the key to remember for any of you who are going first time into extreme heights water fed is to change the behavior of how you deal with the brush as it gets to the bottom of the window. You slowly accelerate it up the window. So the bottom quarter of the window, you're just going to push it up and accelerate it just a little bit less than what you might do if you were cleaning 2-story windows. And that, Martin, is
30 minutes of
all
Q&A.
Q&A done. All right, so I'll have my last little sip of coffee and I should be good. If you do like the Q&As, please share them, because we think there's a lot of value in them. And then because we had Black Friday, we've had 2 weeks off our Reach It workshops, but we have 3 already scripted. So tomorrow we might record those, and then we'll start weekly production of Reach It workshops again. And then again, if you like them, you know that they're on YouTube, youtube.com/future of cleaning. Find the playlist Reach It workshop. And then we'd love it if you share them. The views are fantastic. You know, for when we compare them to the other videos in the industry, we're really getting fantastic views, and we're really excited to think that, you know, other people might share them with other people, so that there's the knowledge, the scientific knowledge, you know, is what you want, right? An educated decision is a good decision. So we feel that if we can pass on the real knowledge and the real science behind water-fed window cleaning, then you're going to make better buying decisions, better technique decisions, safer behaviors, make more money. They got cued by Martin.
Yeah.
Money.
Money, money, money.
And remember that, you know, the reason why we want you to clean windows faster is because we want you to be able to scale your business. If you can't get your business to $150 an hour in an AB demographic, like, you know, middle class demographic, then it's very hard to scale the business. You really need to get cleaning windows faster, keeping your charge rates the same, and that'll give you extra cash, which gives you the ability to have your workers' compensation, ability to have insurance, ability to deal with disasters like engines blowing up and stuff like that, and still know that you can put another employee on and you can pursue more work with a second person either beside you or a second truck. You know, it all costs money, and you have to know that you've got the money before you do it. Otherwise it becomes, you know, a scary risk and people stay small. So that's always been our logic, is that we make a product that lasts. We don't make brushes that you have to replace every 6 months. And we don't make poles that only last for 2 years. So our growth of Reach It is actually determined by A, referrals, B, some Facebook, and C, whether you can scale your business and put another truck on, and we get a whole new kit. So that's kind of like, you know, part of the reason why we think if we educate everybody properly, they'll make great decisions, they'll grow their business, they'll earn more money, their lifestyle will change, which is one thing, but secondly, their business will grow, and then they'll end up using more radial brushes and warrior poles and tactical poles and filters and stuff like that. Okay, so all good.
All good.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Perry. Good job.
Great. We'll see you at the next Reach It workshop.